Home education is a strong growing phenomenon in society, and research shows that homeschooled children or home learners perform as well or better as children that attend schools. But many people cannot understand how it's possible that a parent can teach a child without having the qualifications to do that. So in order to answer this question and give parents a peace of mind, we are talking to Ellen Stapelberg-Visser, who is a qualified teacher, and ask her how this is possible. So, Ellen, thank you very much for giving us your time to answer these questions. Let's start off by giving us an overview of your qualifications and your experience as a teacher.
Yes, I studied education at the University of Stellenbosch. I did a 4-year course called B from Ed. And after that, I did a B.Ed course, which was then the honors following the B from Ed. So I have 5 years of education in education. Then I started working in a private school. And this private school also gave me the opportunity to study further in reformed education, which I finished. And then after 7 years of experience in the private sector, in the private school, I joined a state school, an English state school, where I taught for about 4 years. And I was also head of department of mathematics, science, and life skills. Which I thoroughly enjoyed. And after that, I met my husband. I had my son, and I decided to stay at home with him until he was about 4 or 5 years old. And then I started teaching in between, just a little bit of relief teaching here and there, sometimes a few months. Even have some high school experience in that time, during that time. So total experience about 12 years plus some relief teaching.
Okay. So as your son became older, you decided to take him out of the school. So can you give us a bit of an idea? What are the reasons why you decided that he should not get his education in a school?
We did start off by sending him to school, but it was a private school because we noticed from a very young age that he was a very emotional little boy, and he was a little bit different. And he was going to get lost in a state school with so many children. So we decided it's best to put him in a private school where there are less children in a class and he gets more attention. He's also diagnosed ADHD. Which makes it a little bit difficult in a big class situation. It went well for a while, and then things started going badly, partly because he was in a school that actually demanded excellence and put a lot of pressure on the children, and he couldn't handle that pressure. So we took him out and put him in a different school where he was quite happy, but then we had to move from a seaside town to the city, and we put him in a school that was a school specialized in ADHD, which was one big mess. Sorry to say, there was no discipline. They really didn't work, and there was no challenge for my child. They did follow the CAPS curriculum. And then we changed schools again. And in the last school, he was happy for about a year, and then things started going wrong again, and mostly emotional. He could not handle the school setup, the rules, the way things are done, especially things that didn't make sense to him. Little rules like all the small little infringements on not having marked this and not having done that, and then going to detention because of all the little small things that he did wrong. And he couldn't understand that. And he was also very depressed. So we decided, it was in the back of our heads for a long time, that he might be needing home education. So we took the leap. And we worked together with the school. At first, we followed the program the school actually did, and he did his testing at school. All his assessments were done at school, so he would study at home, and then he would do the assessment at school. That went okay for about 3 months, and then everything broke down. The thing that actually stopped us having any bonds with the school was he was sitting at home studying some work, and he was muttering under his breath all the time, I want to go home, I want to go home. But I told him, but you are home. But then I realized this child is not only having trouble with the school setup, but also with the way the work is structured. The rigidness of a school program. So I stopped everything. I just stopped everything. And we didn't do school for about 4, 5 months. He could do what he wanted. I did encourage him to help me in the garden. I did teach him some skills in the kitchen, so to boil an egg and things like that. But he was actually left at his own devices, and he could decide by himself what he wanted to learn. He actually surprised me by the YouTube videos that he did watch. It was mostly science, because he's very interested in science. He actually wants to learn, but he cannot learn in the school setup and with the school program. So now I realized that we should actually be unschooling, which we did. I had to unschool myself as well, because as a teacher with that many years of experience and also thinking in a certain way, it was very difficult for me to stop everything and not be worried that he's going to lag behind, or that something big is going to go wrong. But the more I read about unschooling, the more it seemed like a very good idea for him and for me to totally change our ways of thinking. And we are still unschooling in a way. We are still not doing formal education. Here and there is a little lesson. He decided at the beginning of this year to ask me to set him a few topics. And his topics ranged from coding, IT coding, to engineering, to all history he could learn about, but not art. And actually made me smile, because he's really not interested in art, but he is interested in art history, because it's history. This child really wants to learn, but he cannot learn in the school setup. And that's why we took him out. And I feel it was the best decision we have made.
Ellen, I really like your distinction that you make. You make a distinction of school environment and school program. So you experience problems with your child, and you first decided to take him out of the school environment, but then it still didn't solve the problems, and you also had to get rid of the school program. Yes. So the concern that I have and many parents have is that with the planned legislation, they will allow you to take your child out of the school environment, but they don't want to allow you to take your child out of the school program. And that will mean many parents will be forced to do things that are not in the best interest of their child. Do you agree with that statement?
I agree fully. It's actually a very scary thought that the government wants to decide on what you should teach your children, because you know your child. The government doesn't. Even your child's best teacher doesn't know your child as well as you do. You know your child's capabilities. You know what his interests are. And you know the best way that he or she can learn. And if a government now decides on a specific program, all children have to follow that program. They could just as well go to school. It's just a different person doing that program. I believe in a more eclectic way of doing homeschooling, and I think that's the original idea behind homeschooling, is to use different resources and not follow a specific program. Though I don't have a problem with parents who do follow a program, and I don't have a problem with parents putting their children in a state school. That is your choice as a parent and your responsibility as a parent. But for myself and my situation, I'd rather not follow a program because my child can't cope with the restrictions of a program. He has to learn this, he has to learn that. He has no choice to decide by himself what he wants to learn and what his interests are. It's wonderful if a child at an early age can tell you what his or her interests are, because that prepares them well for life, while a program just tells you what to do.
Okay, thank you. The other thing I want to ask is about the question about can parents without qualifications teach their children, is when you study as a teacher, you are taught techniques how to transfer knowledge to children. So if you haven't got a teacher's qualification, you don't know how to convey knowledge to your children. That is the one aspect. And the other aspect is the traditional question of how are parents able to do all these complex subjects like high school maths and high school science? How is it possible that they can teach these complex subjects? What is your response to those questions?
You really don't need a teacher's qualification to teach your child. You know your child best, better than any teacher. You've got a wealth of information out there. We've got the internet today, which is wonderful. You've got support groups on Facebook. You've got a whole World Wide Web to search if you have any questions. There are many programs around there, or parts of programs that you can follow, even free worksheets available. You can pick and choose. It is actually really not necessary to have a teacher's qualification, because a teacher's qualification is directed at schools and a class with children, especially bigger classes, 30 plus, mostly 40 plus nowadays, and how to convey your knowledge to a group of children, and how to discipline a group of children, and how to do the administration with that group of children, and how to do the assessment with that group of children. And all those things that are applicable to your child at home, you can learn from the internet. It is really not something difficult or something out of this world, something you don't know by yourself. The internet is so vast that you might struggle to distinguish between all the knowledge that's available, but I really don't think you need an education degree. And for older children who study things that you have not studied yourself, say in high school, or forgotten a lot about, I don't find that a problem, because your purpose with your child as a homeschooler, in the younger stages, you will teach your child to become more and more independent and to be responsible for their own learning. And that's a very big point, and that's a thing that they don't achieve at a school, for a child to be responsible for their own learning. Most parents must still teach that at home, even though their children are at school. So your child is responsible for his or her own learning. Doesn't mean you don't have to check up now and then and see what they are doing. And there are tutors available. As I said, the internet is available. It's not a hurdle that you cannot overcome. Teaching is not knowledge alone. it is the person that you are that you teach. You teach values and norms and ways of thinking rather than you teach a lot of knowledge. Because let's face it, who of us remember all our physics knowledge that we gained in high school? Most of us don't even remember a little bit, maybe a formula or two. Knowledge is not the purpose of education. It's the skills that come along with that, and the norms and the values that come along with that that are important, not the knowledge itself.
Yeah, I always ask the question, how many times in your life was it necessary for you to calculate the roots of a quadratic equation? I work as an engineer, and after my studies, I've never had to do that.
Not once.
Okay, Ellen, I think we discussed everything. I think all the concerns that parents might have, why they cannot teach their children, I think you've addressed. So thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. I just want to say something to our parents. I want to wish you all very good luck. It's a hard journey that you've taken on. It's not an easy path. I know that myself now as well. And I wish you all the best of luck, and just go on. Don't stop.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.